Welcome to Leading with Purpose, the podcast that's dedicated to helping you become the leader you aspire to be. Join us on a journey of self-discovery, empowerment, and inspiration as we explore the world of leadership and personal growth. In each episode, we will explore the art and science of effective leadership, bringing you insights, stories, and strategies from experts and thought leaders across various industries. And now your hosts, Dawn Marie Bornhammer, Monique B. Hoy, Janelle E. Taylor, and Dr. Sharon H. Porter. Welcome to Leading with Purpose, the podcast that's dedicated to helping you become the leader you aspire to be as you lead, empower, inspire, and achieve. I am Dr. Sharon H. Porter, Editor-in-Chief of Vision and Purpose Lifestyle Magazine.
I'm Janelle E. Taylor, CEO and founder of the JTOA Corporation, where we optimize people performance and products.
I am Monique B. Hoy, CEO of BSHG LLC, but you can find me on QBOP.com, MaishaLemonadeStand.com, and CustomerFirstMarketing.com.
I love it, and we are excited to welcome Ms. Monique A. Smith as our guest for this episode of Leading with Purpose. Ms. Smith is an accomplished sports management professional. She's a leadership strategist, an author, a radio host. She is a veteran athletics administrator with over 30 years of experience. She is the founder of the SEEDS of Empowerment LLC consulting firm. Ms. Smith, welcome to Leading with Purpose.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here.
We are truly excited to have you as well, with all of your knowledge in leadership. And this is very exciting. I think this is our first leadership in sports that we've had. So it's been amazing, at least for representing the women. We had a professional baseball player, and now you're going to kick it off for the women for us.
I'll probably knock out the part.
That's it. I love it. I want to start by just asking you about your journey. You know, I'm always fascinated about the journey. Like, what even inspired you to pursue a career in sports, and how has your journey evolved over time?
Mm-hmm. Well, I started out as a mass media major at Hampton University, and I'm excited my classmates here with me. And so with that, my English teacher said I should major in public relations because I was a leader in high school. I was SGA president. I created most of the events. It's just interesting, like whenever you grow up, you know, I remember I was in high school when the MLK became a national holiday. And I remember creating programming to celebrate that, you know. And so I create a lot of things to answer some of the issues of, if you will, school spirit. So my English just said major in PR. So that's why I went to Hampton in a mass media major. Well, it just so happens that I had a background in sports. I've been keeping score since the 8th grade. I wanted to be a writer, a journalist. So I just took, again, for anybody, if you want to stand out, take the road less traveled. Okay? And don't have fear of it not being laid out. Just know what you know about yourself. And I always done that. Almost everything I've ever done has been a path that I had to kind of knock it out myself. And so for sports, it was my sophomore year in college. It was a sign on the bulletin board of my department looking for CIAA PR interns. And I said, oh, I can do that. Especially the word PR caught my attention. And so I did. The January of 1988, I became an intern for the CIAA. It was myself and 3 other guys. And that's how I got introduced, because I was already doing promotions and PR. That was the piece that I love to do, telling a human interest story to grab people to buy a ticket, to be in the stands, to follow someone, to pick a team. And I just knew that's what it would take. It was human interest story. So that's why I started. And then I began to learn about the sports information director position because I was in the conference office and the people who fed us the stats were the SID. And that's when I was like, oh, you mean to tell me you can be a PR person for a whole athletic department, for a student athlete, for a coach? So my junior and my senior year, I worked in sports information. I even interned at BET, but that was in television. I said, I like the fact that I can create a campaign and I can be the one directing the message. And that is how I got into sports information. My first job straight out of college was sports information director for St. Paul's College.
I love that. I actually love how you combined all your talents together to really create this amazing career for yourself. I think it's brilliant, and as I said before we were off camera, you are really making waves out there, and I love it. And thank you for being one of the contributing authors of Women Who Lead in Sports, because you were a major contribution to that project. So thank you.
Thank you.
Monique, your legacy is amazing. So I want to talk about legacy beyond titles and positions because you expand far beyond that. I want you to tell our audience and just share with me, what does it mean to create a legacy that's rooted in the people you have mentored, in the systems that you've helped to improve?
You set me up real good with that. Thank you for that assist. My company is called SEEDS of Empowerment. My podcast is called A Chat in the Garden. My magazine is called Significance in Athletics and Sports. So what I want to do is leave a legacy of significance. We're not seeking success, because success is defined by society. Significance is something that you may not see in your lifetime, but you will be able to know that you planted that seed for somebody else to grow. Because my motto is planting seeds of empowerment to lead others to greatness. And so my soul is at rest when I see someone else get the athletic director position and is a woman. And so to me, and that's happened to me recently, when Tiffany Sykes became the athletic director at Florida A&M. I helped to get her very first job straight out of college. The athletic director at Dillard University was my was a freshman in 1991 at St. Paul's College. And to be in her presence around her colleagues and whatnot, to see her a sitting athletic director. And I can go on and on and on about that, but those are just two people that come to my mind because of being a very recent. But I've had Ingrid Wicked McCree, who's on the cover in the center right here, was athletic director at North Carolina Central University. She just retired, but she
That is
remembered.
amazing. Yes, that is. I just first time, like, this is why I asked this question, because I've tracked you and I've seen how many seeds you've planted that have actually grown and blossomed. And I love that statement. I mean, this is going to stick with me. Success, by your words, is defined by society. Significance is what we leave behind. That is implanted in my head. So thank you for that.
Even though we've known each other for 35 years, every time I speak to you, I get more and more and more and more impressed. So tell me how you transition from PR to your different businesses, but more importantly, when did the niche of women in sports come about? What was the need that you saw there that made you decide to focus on getting all these dynamic women as athletic directors?
Well, the flippant answer would be, I look in the mirror, look at myself, and I want to be able to increase the pipeline. It's not okay to be the first and the only. You have no control of being the first, but you do have control of being the only. So that has been my whole piece. Again, I was the very first full-time female sports information director in the CIAA in 1990. And then I was the first female CIAA sports information director of the year and 92. So then when I get the job at the CIAA as director of PR, guess what? There's 6 female sports information directors inside the CIAA. So, it's just like doing what you do for yourself, and then things just come along. People want to know how you do what you do. So, just to backtrack, I became athletic director, interim athletic director at St. Paul's College at 28. I'm now 56. That was by default. I went through 5 different athletic directors. I was blessed to have Alfreda Goff, that's the lady right here. She was athletic director at Virginia State when I was athletic director at St. Paul's. And so I did have a colleague that guided me along the way. And what she's done for me, I try to do for others. She put me on my very first NCAA committee in 97, had no clue, got this big box of binders, and said that you had been selected for the NCAA first Division II committee, which that committee created all the other committees in Division II because we became federated. We began to rule ourselves in Division II. So I served on a lot of committees based on that one. And then there's a national association, with NACTA, NACWA, National Association of Collegiate Women Athletic Administrators. That's what it was called back then. Now it's called Women Leaders in Sports. I was on the nominating committee. I nominated Alfreda to be the second Black woman president. And then Alfreda put me on her committee, and she said, I want you to be over the awards committee. I said, okay, cool. And, because again, I'm an SID, that's kind of thing we do. We nominate, whatnot. Next thing I know, she wants me to MC the program. I said, no, I write the stories. I'm the behind the scene person. She says, no, you will do this. And she started me speaking. And I would introduce people. I would try to make it as interesting as possible because I'm a writer. And they were like, oh, can I have your introduction that you did on me? And I'm like, I wasn't for the consumption of everybody. And then I was like, okay, they kind of like how I word things. So the fast forward, I did leave St. Paul's College to go Division I, did compliance for 2 years on Division I level. And then the commissioner of CIAA said, come on back home. And I said, well, sir, I can't come do the same thing I did as an intern. He said, no problem. Come in, train the person to do what you don't want to do. So I hired a girl straight out of Hampton, 10 years my junior, to be the PR director, and I became director of championships and eventually director of governance. And the part of my job I enjoyed the most was the personal and professional development of the women that were in the CIAA. I served as senior women's administrator for the conference. And so that led me to be able to have access to some funds. And so I had a retreat. I bring a facilitator in. I said, we need to work on this issue. We need to work on this issue. Because presidents and people from other conferences would ask me, I have this opening. I would like a minority woman. And I'll just go through my Rolodex, aging myself, or my folder of resumes. And that's what I became to be the person. If you want to get your foot in the door, Monique can try to help you with that because she's got influence. So I remained at the CIAA for 13 years. Then I received my pink slip. And the NCAA brought me aboard as a consultant to do leadership workshops across the country. And then they changed leadership. And they said, well, you can still do it, but they have to pay you directly. I said, bet, I can charge them more. And so for 11 years, I've been a full-time entrepreneur. I had a publicist who said, I have a client who wants to have the longest running podcast. Now, let's just be clear. She didn't say podcast. She said radio show. And I said, this is not a radio show. I majored in this. This is not radio. When I embraced the word podcast, I was set free. I was like, okay, I can work with this. This is what this is. And so I joined the network, Clark Garrison, and my show was Chat in the Garden. I said, if I do it, I gotta have full control of who I interviewed and run a show. And he said, at first he was very skeptical. I said, look, I know what I'm doing. And I want to interview Black women in athletic administration. And he was like, but that won't be long. I said, just watch. And just for the record, we have been going strong for 11 years, 11 seasons. I've had my podcast. And the whole point about that is the same thing people will look for people. It is to, number one, show that we're here and we are significant. Because every time I say my show, a chat in a garden where significance blooms in athletics and sports. So when we do that, we implant that into the people who are saying the show. It's just like James Brown, I'm Black and I'm proud. You see, so that's that way of kind of get that in there. And with that, it is, you can find where they are and then others can see what they can be. And we have a private Facebook group of 3,400 members.
I love that you keep taking that road less traveled, because like you just said, who would ever thought that there would be an audience, a niche of Black women athletic directors? And I keep seeing you do that time and time again, and I love seeing it.
Thank
Keep
you.
letting your live do the singing.
Yes.
Okay, Monique. Now, anytime that I'm talking about women in leadership, my go-to question is always about the significant challenges. Although we have come so far, and women in leadership in general, there are still much room and much improvement that's needed. So I would love for you to address some of the existing challenges for women in sports.
So existing meaning current. You don't want me to go back in the day. You want me to talk about right now. Okay.
Right.
Just to clarify. Okay. All right. Because some of them are very similar. It's just that there's more women. And so you can actually call it what it is. Right. You can actually call it. Otherwise, it was, oh, she's too sensitive. So now when you say it, you can actually pinpoint. No, that's discrimination. No, that's ageism. That's sexism. And that's racism. So all the isms are still moving. But now you got something to grab hold to. I mean, something as simple as the crown egg. You know, that used to be eliminating some people. You know, for me, it was ageism because I was 22 and there were the women that were around were former coaches. Like my boss was the very first female athletic director in the CIAA, and she was 60 and I was 20. So I want to ask about, can I get married? Can I have children? That wasn't a conversation that she could really assist with, because when she was a childbearing age, that was that. So speaking of childbearing age, unfortunately, my heart hurts for some of the young women that have been my mentees, and they are trying to climb that ladder, and they miss their time of childbearing age, or just getting married. Period. Having a good partner opportunity. But so what really bothers me is that those that do get married, they get out. They don't know that they can stay in, or they don't feel like they want to fight. And so those that have the ability to change policies, I said this in my class this week. One of the things I did not like, and this happened recently, I had a client who was an HR person, and she was telling me how upset she was that she had to tell some track coaches that they couldn't come to work with their children because that institution had a policy that no children come to work. And it was an insurance situation. We're talking about higher ed. And again, there are institutions that do that. And let me clarify. I am, again, my consultancy is executive coaching and group coaching for women that are in this position. And one of the main things I see, again, you get out because you don't have community. You get out because you lack confidence. You get out because you don't feel like fighting for the isms that are going on. All right. So I work hard to teach them how to be strategic. All right. To be able to, again, politics is not a dirty word. You just got to learn how to play that game. And when you do, you win every issue in hand.
I really like that because, as you stated, the problems probably still are the same, but we're able to handle them a little differently now. And that's so important. And I'm just thinking about even the contributors in the book, how many firsts we had represented in that and the things that they went through. A few when we had the podcast and you all talked about your stories, just amazing of some of the challenges and barriers that they went through, and some people are still going through that. And even with the athletic director, still now colleges are having women as athletic directors for the first time in 2024, right? So we're still fighting that battle, but I'm grateful that we've definitely come a long way. So thank you for that.
Sharon's point indicates a long way to go. But through that journey, the ongoing transition from your story, I would love to know, even after publishing Removing the Face, you continue to grow and evolve as a leader. How do you balance the lessons of your past with the need to continue transitioning and adapting into your personal and professional life?
Well, I am blessed to have a mate who is my college sweetheart who gets it. Actually, he made this, I don't know what you call this, bookshelf for my magazines. So he says, no, you need to look more professional. I said, okay, all right, whatever you say. But you have to educate. You have to educate the people in your life that may not. I mean, most of my parents were school teachers in public schools. They weren't entrepreneurs. Now, as I look back, I realized both my grandfathers were entrepreneurs. But what people don't understand, and their fear comes out. You just have to educate them that yes, I took my inheritance from my father's passing to learn how to grow a business versus taking my money to get a PhD. There was no guarantee of a job. So I wanted to learn how to have that sense of self and use my talents in that way. And so it was interesting because I teach at Hampton. I'm an adjunct. I can't become a full-time because I don't have a PhD. But I'm okay with that because number one, I get a chance to still touch the kids of the next generation of pipeline, but also be able to show other people that I have to be real honest with you all. When you in athletics, you give 90% of your life. It is not a 9 to 5. And I began to have family members who didn't invite me to reunions, marriages. I remember being invited to a graduation for a child I didn't even know was born, And so I was like, okay, I want to be in a position to control my life. And so by being a consultant, by being an adjunct, by working in areas that are contractual, I can pick the times I need to work or not. That to me is, as I say in the book, spiraling up the mountain. Because when we just go straight up the mountain, we miss all the 4 seasons of life. And so that's how I have learned how to balance, really clear on boundaries. I got certain times I can talk on the phone, and you better learn how to text.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely. So, wow. How do you recognize when it's time to shed a new face, setting boundaries, and just taking control? As a business owner myself, I do understand that balance is much needed. And I do commend you. You're still an adjunct. You're still, changing lives by educating, students. So, thank you for continuing on that journey. You've adapted, you pivoted,
Yeah,
so, you changed another face in your journey. So thank you, Monique.
Welcome.
Monique, I think you've been the same way since as long as I've known you. To the
Yeah.
point, very, very leadership very leadership oriented. But since I have you here, I want to get your opinion on the Caitlin Clark WNBA pay disparity. And the reason why I'm asking you is because I heard from plenty of men about what we need to do and how we should do it. But because you're in the industry, because you see the struggle, because you know what's going on, you're my inside view. So you talk about the isms, talk about this pay disparity that we see and your thoughts on it.
Well, I know everybody watched Scandal, right?
Oh, yes.
It's a fictional story, but the activity is real. That's a spin. The reason why you asked me that question is a spin. To have the conversation, because who even knew anybody played all the way an hour was doing whatever was going on over there? Somebody told the story, you know? And so, because I'm a mass media major, you're not going to believe this, but I don't watch the news. Because I'm not going to have anybody control what it is I begin to know. I go get information in different sources for myself. So as it relates to this situation, it is a good problem because of the fact we're talking about women's basketball. Did you see how many men we had out there talking about it?
Oh, yes.
I'm okay with you talking about it as long as you begin to put some money on that talk. And because of that, we have more sponsorships. You see what I'm saying? And people follow other people to spend the money. So I'm going up higher with this. This conversation is barbershop talk. Who this, who that, whatever. Okay, fine. Where the money at? The fact that you saw the game on ABC and not on ESPN, regular television, we have evolved all across the board. And here's the thing. We're talking about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. But those two are not the star players in the WNBA. That means we got 3 stars to keep the conversation going. Because you only had one, when something happened, it's just like this. Angel Reese is out. But we still talking about WNBA because we got more stars. We got more people. It's just like the quarterback situation. I said we have arrived when we have so many Black quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't even know their names. Thank you.
Yep, I agree. My dad, who is very first Black quarterback, Black coach, I said, I got to go to the GM.
Yeah, and that's my next thing. I say leadership. That's the leadership. And so people ask me who I'm pulling for. I said, I've been watching sports based on the culture. Georgetown, John Thompson. Pittsburgh Pirates, all them Black men playing baseball. All right. My father was for the Celtics back in the day because they were the first ones to have a Black head basketball coach. He also was a coach. Coach player. But back in the day, they were the first. But then the Lakers came about, with the primetime, with the show, and all of that. But that wasn't for the culture. Lakers weren't for the culture. Lakers is for the what? The showtime. All right. And then people start watching the game. Because many people, you probably could buy a ticket for $2 back in the day. Did you know that Virginia Squires had Dr. J at first before he came to Philly?
Is that the ABA team? Because I'm
yes,
okay.
Yes,
I knew he was an ABA. I didn't know the name of the team.
Right down the road, but it was not a hot ticket back then. But the reason why the NBA and the ABA combined was because they were playing more flashier basketball. And people realized the more the flash, the more the money. So I don't get into those other conversations because they don't mean anything. As long as you're talking about it and you watching on TV and people are happy about sponsors because you up the ratings or whatnot, and you told your boy you got to watch this girl, she's shooting the lights out. All right. It's a good thing. It's all right.
Good. I just wanted to get your opinion because I know you're the expert. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, Monique, I'm so excited because I listened to your keynote at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. Blossom where you are planted. That was a couple months ago you did that.
Was it
What?
in March? In March.
Yeah, exactly. What were some of your major takeaways that you wanted the audience to leave with?
Well, let me tell you, the day before I went to Alabama, the governor had thrown down the gavel and said, "No more diversity education." I said, "Oh Lord," and that's my whole talk right there. And so Maisha would tell you, like she said, I've been the same since day one. I said, well, if I'm going down my way. So I said, I'm going to stick with my story. And so what I wanted to take is that, again, nothing is new under the sun. And what The Killer Mockingbird did back in the 30s, no, the story was written in the 60s, but it told a story in the 30s. And here in 2024. And in order to bloom where you plant it, you got to have that long lastingness to it. And so I chose someone who was from Alabama that was a white woman. So they cannot say that I'm trying to teach you about, I know they probably thought I was Coretta King because she was from Alabama. No, this is your Alabama sister who chose this story to tell in 1960, which was a very turbulent time. And the fact that this guy stay in power, there are plays going around the country today on the same storyline. And so even though we got turbulent times now about, not teaching about diversity, and 1619 is like banned from the teachings. You can teach about your girl from Alabama. Did you ban your own person? Probably not. So you can use this because she had that stay in power. And she was able to bring awareness to something during, again, a turbulent time. And she wasn't afraid to do so. And it was under fiction, all right? And it was under education. And when you educate people, you can influence them. Educate to influence decision makers.
Thank you for that. I'm sure the audience was able to take all of that and more from your talk. It was very inspiring.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Monique. For evolving leadership skills in a changing industry, and I do love, like, if you're going to go down, you're going to go down your way. So that's my attitude, my mindset. For the sports and business landscapes, which I am unfamiliar with, and most of our audience may or may not be, as we continue to evolve, are there any specific leadership skills that you think emerging leaders, new leaders need to develop to stay relevant, number one, and effectively keep changing the rapid environment with their stories? Is there anything that you can give to our audience today, just a nugget or two from, your perspective and experiences?
Well, from an athletic perspective, we are in changing times. Rules that we all learned are now no more. Student athletes can transfer as many times as they would like. We got name, image, and likeness. Student athletes can receive money based on their name, image, and likeness. There are student athletes that want to become employees. That's on the docket now. And so old heads must learn how to adapt. If not, go into consultancy, which is why I started the magazine to help people figure out how to go to the next level. But more importantly, I tell my students this, because it used to be like at home. You have the kids table, you have the grown folks table. You sit over here until we call on you and ask you for what you think. That's not going to be the case now. Diversity of thought is what's going to change for the marketplace. And so we're looking for disruption. We're looking for Ricky Smarts. And I tell those old heads, I said, I need you to go back in time like it was when you first had your first job. You asked questions, you were all excited. Nothing was too hard or too simple for you to do, because that's what's going to be needed for this time. Because again, when you think about childlike, you have creativity. You're not stuck on things are changing. You're thinking, I'm exploring. And when I do staff retreats for athletic departments, that's what I call it. I say our playing field is expanding. I don't say our playing field is changing. Because if I say our playing field is just changing, your brain goes to fight or flight. Okay? Not even sitting and listening about what you can contribute to this. So that's the landscape. You've got to be able to think Netflix, and shoot, even Netflix right now better be on the lookout. I mean, because, and it's exciting. I'm gonna tell you, the new president for the NCAA, he actually says it's going to be a young person that's going to tell us how we're going to navigate the next 20 years. That's why he wants students on these task force. He's want young people. And so either you're older and got some young people beside you, or you take on a young person's mindset to go and take us to the next generation of athletics and sports.
Wow, and I have not heard the term old head in so long, so I'm aging myself, but yes. And I think the willingness, just the willingness to, regardless of your age, the willingness to kind of unlearn what you learned, be moldable, be coachable, so you can adapt, to the new, because it's some older, wiser folks out here, and then some younger, folks who don't want to change. But, I like that expanding and exploring rather than changing. So, it's different perspectives. Thank you.
And I want to say this one little thing here. Because again, I was young, and I always would say, it's not how long I've been on this earth, it's the experiences I've had while I've been on this earth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Monique.
I think you answered my question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. I feel like you have planted so many seeds of empowerment, and the next generation of leaders are coming up. What is your one piece of advice that you would give to them, or her, or him, or them?
Well, I've noticed of late that there is a non-healthy feeling that if I share my accomplishments, I'm bragging. Now, how is anybody going to know you're an expert on something if you don't share your accomplishments? And so, I got 44 people in my Intro to Sports Management course. The first assignment is to create your LinkedIn profile. And I'm having the hardest time. Like they can put some crazy stuff on Instagram or Twitter, but come on, tell me, what is your strengths? What have you done? Did you do an outstanding job on a project? Did you do an internship? Okay, where are the pictures of you doing the internship? You gotta be, again, spend 4 years. There should be something to show for your 4 years, and be able to communicate that in words and pictures. Okay? And by voice, if you get the opportunity to do a video. Maybe that may be it. Tell them to do a video. But sometimes you gotta have it in more than one format so people can digest it.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Monique. I have so enjoyed talking to you today.
Thank you, dear.
Well, Monique, it has been such a pleasure to have you as a guest on Leading with Purpose podcast. And we want to give you this space to share with all of our listeners and viewers how they can connect with you, how they can follow you, and how can they reach out to you should they need your services.
Well, I like to communicate on LinkedIn. I'm Monique A. J. Smith. That's where I like to start off. I do have a store, SEEDS of Empowerment store.com. You can get the book that you mentioned, which is Public Figure Mass. It covers my athletic administrative journey, beginnings, and to be honest, because of the first, there are some pressures that we may not as high achievers be able to recognize. So I talk about myself hitting a wall literally and figuratively, and why therapy is important for high achievers. And I'll be honest, after I received that assistance, my career soared. I also want to share, my store also has my latest magazine. They're also on Amazon. There are 8 issues now, Significance in Athletics and Sports. And podcasts, chatinagarden.com.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you again. We want to thank our listeners and our viewers for joining us on Leading with Purpose podcast today. So again, I am Dr. Sharon H. Porter.
I am Aisha Bihoy.
And I am Janelle E. Taylor. Thank you.
And as you navigate your journey in leadership, remember that leading with purpose is not just a philosophy. It's a commitment to making a positive impact.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with your network and don't forget to subscribe so you will never miss an opportunity to explore the intersection of leadership and purpose.
Continue to lead, empower, inspire, and achieve.
And until next time, lead with passion, lead with a positive intention, and by all means, continue to lead with purpose. Thank you for joining the Leading with Purpose podcast. Please join us every Monday for a new episode.